it's kind of a complicated question. There are, and I would ask that Roger look back and watch the recorded version of this as well as the previous webinar as well. But vulnerability has a lot of components to it, and it is kind of a complicated term in and of itself, but we broke it down into the 3 components that are most often used by folks looking at vulnerability, and that's exposure, sensitivity, and adaptive capacity. And then each of those components in and of itself has many different elements to it. And so there is a lot of information that's kind of wrapped up in this term vulnerability, and so pretty much everything that Roger listed was included in that.
Okay. Then actually it's interesting, there are 2 questions here related to lumping versus splitting, I would say. So Robert Brock asks, instead of focusing on individual species, might it be easier and less costly for most areas to initially focus on large guilds, such as those found at the land-sea interface? And then Roger asked, you know, that because vulnerability assessments are relative assessments among the species chosen, does combining very different groups, in other words, coastal versus marine, is that the most appropriate way to do it, or should it have been done separately for marine and coastal species to better understand what their distinct vulnerabilities are?
Okay, so the first question was about being able to assess multiple species at once. If they're kind of in the same habitat or exposed to the same conditions, and I would say definitely yes, that can be done. I was participating in the Rocky Intertidal group during the vulnerability assessments, and we found that for a lot of the species in the Rocky Intertidal system, especially for exposure, we are pretty much saying the same thing. They are exposed to many of the same climate and non-climate